Vinsmoke Sungi. Sanji is the fourth crew member to join the Straw Hat Pirates, fifth if you count Luffy as the first. Sanji's full name, little known to many but the most die-hard fans of the series, is Vinsmoke Sungi, a fitting name given that he is sucking down on a cigarette for more than half of his screen time. Sanji joins the Straw Hat Pirates as the crew's chef, but also possesses incredible fighting ability. As a cook, Sanji's hands are invaluable assets. Because of this, Sanji fights almost entirely with his legs in a very impressive and powerful style that he first learns under the eye of Chef Redleg Zeph of the Barati. Sanji ranks amongst the monster trio of the Straw Hat Pirates' ass-kickin' corps. He might not be considered quite as powerful as Luffy or Zoro, but he is likely smarter and also possesses a range of skills outside the battlefield. While not commonly known, Sanji is actually the third son and prince of the Germa Kingdom. After running away, he joined up with the crew of the Barati to become a cook, which was where he eventually met and joined Luffy. Sanji's dream was to find all blue, the sea where fish from all four seas could be caught, but he also claimed it was 98.72% because of Nami that he signed on forever skirt chasing. Before time skip, age 19 years old, height 177 centimeters. After time skip, age 21 years old, height 180 centimeters. Birthday March 2nd, hometown Germa Kingdom. Affiliation Straw Hat Pirates. Position cook, fighter. Devil Fruit Nun. Fighting style martial arts, black leg style. Nicknames Black Leg Sungi. Arrow cook, shady cook, curly eyebrow. Sanji is tall, fair-skinned with straight blonde hair. He has a muscular frame and is quite long-limbed. His eyes typically appear black, but during the Thriller Bark story arc are depicted as gray-blue. Sanji's hair is split, always covering one of his eyes and eyebrows. His eyebrows are perhaps the most iconic aspect of his character design and are a large part of Zoro's nickname arsenal when insulting the cook. After the time lapse, Sanji's hair part switches to covering his right eye. Prior to the skip, he wore it covering his left eye. The change reveals that both his eyebrows share the same unique dartboard curl, but that they are not symmetrical. If you read into their shape, they even play into his constant skirt chasing. Sanji's right eyebrow curls up into a backward 9, while his left eyebrow curls down into a backward 6. While there isn't much more explanation needed, here's a photo, although he may have just changed the way he does his eyebrows. Sanji is the only Straw Hat crew who sports any facial hair. From the beginning of the series, he wears a scruffy patch on his chin, but following the time lapse, Sanji has clearly aged and matured. His face has become a lot harder and slightly less boyish. His hair is scruffier and gives him a more rugged look. The most defining change is that his facial scruff has become a full goatee and stubble stash. Sanji is without a doubt the best dressed of the Straw Hat Pirates. Initially stemming from his role as sous chef at Barati, Sanji typically sports a double-breasted suit, button-up shirt, necktie, suit pants, and dress shoes. This base wardrobe undergoes slight variations in the color of his shirt and ties. Due to these slight variations, Sanji's wardrobe changes most frequently of all of the male members of the Straw Hat Pirates. Sanji almost never goes into a fight poorly dressed. In his most casual, he might be caught wearing just a vest or a shirt and tie. One of his most casually dressed fights was during the Davy Back fight when he didn't tuck in his pink shirt. He does dress down on occasion, typically before or after big fights. Sanji was caught sporting a t-shirt at the beginning of the Water 7 story arc and the end of the Fishman Island story arc. He also wears a hooded sweatshirt at the beginning of Thriller Bark. Sanji is without a doubt one of the more serious characters in the Straw Hat crew. That being said, he is not as gloomy as Robin or Zoro are. Sanji is typically cool and distant, except in the presence of a beautiful lady. Sanji gets incredibly silly and swoons in the presence of women. A mere glance sends him spinning and a slight touch causes his nose to bleed profusely. The common trope in anime puts Sanji in more than a few tight situations, not uncommon for One Piece characters. Sanji has a core set of principles that guides him and he sticks to them as religiously as any of his other crewmates. Sanji sees himself as a knight in shining armor or a prince on a white stallion. Throughout the series, he daydreams of coming to the rescue of some fair damsel in distress. Zoro often stands as a protector to female crew members and won't stand to see women hurt or insulted in his presence. His chivalry is so extreme that Sanji will not lay a finger on women in a fight. This is a pretty debilitating disadvantage as it often puts Sanji in futile situations. The most obvious instance of this is when Sanji gets beaten by CP9's Khalifa during the Enies Lobby story arc. That being said, Sanji has more than a few moments where he truly is a knight in shining armor. Most notably is when he saves Nami on Thriller Bark from the incredibly perverted Absalom, who was trying to marry an unconscious Nami. Sanji not only rescues her from him but takes a savage beating while trying to fight off Absalom while also holding his unconscious navigator. Sanji will drop almost anything to come to the aid of either Nami or Robin. It is a bit hard to discern, but it is likely that he would choose Nami if forced to do so between the two. After all, she was a large part of his decision to join the crew in the first place, and the two have been together and through a lot more than he and Robin. Sanji isn't only chivalrous in fights. He also lives to wait on Nami and Robin while they sail towards and through Grand Line and into the New World. Sanji almost always serves Robin and Nami first. He often will create special dishes and drinks just for them, much to the annoyance of his male crew members at times. Sanji's chivalry could also be the factor which causes him to leave the Straw Hat Pirates one day. His love of women and desire to become a beautiful woman's savior very nearly led him to abandon the crew during the Dressrosa story arc. Sanji became quickly enamored with Princess Viola, who wanted to escape the clutches of Don Flamingo. Were it not for her true motive overlapping with that of the crews, it is entirely possible that Sanji would have truly skipped town and fled with he. While chivalrous to the core, Sanji is also the very definition of a pervert, hentai. The arrow cook, despite being a totally cold badass when fighting, becomes a clingy puppy when faced with a pretty lady. Sanji can be a little much as he really lays it on when a lady he likes is around. His legs start to get wobbly. His eyes and heart can often throb. And he tends to throw his arms up into the air along with all of his other cares in the world when seeing a new lady or when seeing Nami or Robin after an extended period of time or serious fight. At first, Sanji's puppy dog love is just an amusing trope, but as the series progresses it even starts to physically endanger him. As per the common trope in anime, Sanji tends to get profuse nosebleeds when aroused by a lovely lady. Sadly, it doesn't take much to get him going, and it sometimes feels like he loses more blood idolizing women from afar than he does in all his battles summed up together. This becomes really problematic as the crew looks to enter the New World. In order to do so, they must pass through Fishman Island, which is inhabited by both fishmen and mermaids. Well, it was all a bit much for Sanji and very nearly killed him. Sanji is more than just a warrior, like Zoro and Luffy. His primary role on the ship is technically as the cook, although he is a part of the Straw Hat Pirates monster trio. That being said, he often uses more than just his insane physical strength to best his enemies. Sanji often finds himself wandering off alone during large encounters, only to discover secret doors and weaknesses that he is able to exploit for the crew's benefit. His curiosity and cleverness often puts him into situations where he is able to save the rest of his crew. Sanji does this in Alabasta, giving him an edge against Crocodile as he is unknown to the Baroque Works organization. He repeats this feat in Skypiea to wreak havoc on Enel's ship from the inside. In Enies Lobby, he went off to close the gates of justice rather than engage with the captains of Enies Lobby. In many of these situations, he has to rely on his wit to sneak through the situations he ends up in. Rather than rushing in brashly, he has a habit of thinking out loud to himself in an effort to find a clear way to navigate forward to his crew's benefit. This is one of Sanji's key traits. It comes out in his obsession over pretty ladies, but also in a range of other situations, too. While Sanji isn't as quickly drawn to tears as, say, Frankie or Chopper, he is still much more open about his emotions than his rival Zoro. Despite his incredibly cool introduction to the series, he quickly lets himself loose when he parts from the Barati crew and says farewell to Zeph. In many ways, Sanji is most like Luffy with how he lets out his emotions. Luffy, too, is no stranger to tears when a situation calls for it. The way in which the two most frequently show their emotions is when they get fired up over something which clashes with their moral code. For Sanji, this most often comes when a woman is insulted or endangered in his presence. Sanji's most devastating attacks are typically unleashed in defense of female characters. Sanji's emotions get so fired up that he, quite possibly literally, bursts into flames. This could be tied to his dyeable ability. Sanji's most fiery explosion comes during his fight with Absalom during the Thriller Bark story arc. Possibly the best example of Sanji's emotional outbursts is over the photo attached to his first bounty poster. The story goes that they were unable to capture a photo of him, so they used an artist rendering of him. Much to his dismay, the drawing barely resembles him and stirs up a real racket with his crew members. Sungi, initially excited to know that his notoriety has grown, ends up crushed and devastated by the insultingly sketchy drawing. All of this is to poor Duval's misfortune, the man who his sketch bears true resemblance, which makes it all the funnier when Sungi rearranges Duval's face out of his own fury. Sungi's wanted posters are undisputedly the most amusing of the Straw Hat crew. His first poster was a constant source of irritation and despair due to the poor quality sketch and complete lack of resemblance to his face, while his second poster is equally amusing as he is in full love mode when it is snapped. Sungi's first bounty is a whopping 77 million belly. This is more than both Luffy and Zoro's first bounties and would be the highest first bounty on the crew if not for Nico Robin's first bounty coming in a good 2 million higher. Sungi picks up his bounty at the end of the Enies Lobby story arc, his defeat of CP9's Jabra being his most notable achievement during the affair. Sungi's bounty is raised by 177 million belly at the end of the Dressrosa story arc and following the Don Quixote family's defeat. Of all of the wanted posters, his alone is unique in that he is wanted only alive. It is later revealed that this is due to his father's influence, Judge Vinsmoke. Turns out that the king of the Gemna Kingdom wants his son captured alive after all, even though he had thought him entirely useless during Sungi's childhood. Sanji trained under Red Legs F to be more than just a cook, but as a cook he was trained that his hands are his most valuable of assets. As such, Sunji never uses his hands when he fights and relies entirely on a leg-based fighting style. There is one exception to this when he fights another cook in which he uses 2 chef knives. Sunji's fighting style evolves and develops over the course of the series. He is highly intelligent and observant, which leads him to study and learn a range of techniques from his opponents. Sunji's fighting style is a brand of martial arts that is of his own invention and design. Initially, he would have learned to fight in his home kingdom, but as he did not take well to it, much of his training came under the tutelage of Zeph. The fighting style is designed to prevent damage from being incurred to the fighter's hands, which is why most of the time Sunji will fight with his hands crossed or in his pockets. Most of the attacks that fall into Sunji's fighting style come with their own names, derived from French to sound fancy, but actually fairly simple when translated. Many of the attack names are literally the part of the body that he is striking. Épaules shoot literally translates to shoulder shot and is, unsurprisingly, a solid leg drop onto an opponent's shoulder. Other attacks are similarly named and designed, where the French word is literally the part of the body that Sunji is assaulting. Some other attacks are translated from Japanese English, such as the windmill attack, party table kick horse. Party table kick horse, One Piece. Sunji's windmill attack. Even early in the series, Sunji can be seen to start to add to his repertoire using moves that mimic those of others. His Ekusu Torashi attack, extra minced meat attack, looks a lot like one of Luffy's Gatling gun barrages, yet with an unrelenting barrage of hard kicks from close range. Following the time lapse, Sunji uses a few of the techniques that were based off of the CP9's Rokushiki Geppo technique. The first technique based off CP9's Geppo that Sunji uses following the time skip. Geppo allows its users to jump off the air itself. Skilled users could double, triple, quadruple jump and more. Combined with CP9's Soru technique, where users could move incredibly quickly by kicking off 10 times in such short succession that it made for explosive movement. Sunji uses the 2 techniques to travel at super speed while running through the water. He uses this on the way to Fishman Island to catch up with the Kraken before he ran out of breath. Sunji later uses Blue Walk again on Punk Hazard, but while in Nami's body due to Trafalgar Law's Shambles ability. This is a pretty interesting development as it suggests that the ability is not one which requires Sunji's super leg strength but simply the understanding of how to do the technique, albeit it is likely that the version he uses is less powerful in Nami's body. He does suggest this at other times while using her body. But it also leads to the question of whether or not Nami could eventually develop the ability to Skywalk is the same technique as Blue Walk but in the air. This technique may as well be CP9's Geppo ability. For all intents and purposes, Sunji's Skywalk is CP9's Geppo. Sanji reveals this technique on Fishman Island as well, when he uses it to evade a pincushion attack when surrounded by a swarm of spike fishmen. While running, he has a flashback, revealing how he learned the technique to escape the Okama that chased him constantly when he was stranded in the Kamabaka Kingdom. When he first uses it, both Luffy and Robin comment back to how it is just like CP9's Gappo Moonwalk. Luffy was more than a little impressed as he remembered watching Rob Lucci jump up and out a vertical shaft as the last time he had seen the technique. Diable Hamby translates from French to mean devil egg, very fitting considering how blisteringly hot it looks like when he spins it up. During his first use of the attack against CP9's Jabra, Sanji gives a full description of the attack. He describes it as an attack combining the heat and power of the devil. Jabra is both blinded by the blazing light it emits and utterly destroyed by the attack's burning and destructive power. Following the time skip, Sanji is able to prep up the attack much quicker, require little to no spinning to heat up his legs. Additionally, he has developed the ability to attack from a greater distance using the technique when combined with other attacks. Hell Memories is a bit of a strange attack. It may be too early to say that it is yet another ability that Sanji developed while in the Kamabaka Kingdom, as he also seems to have used it on Thriller Bark when he saved Nami from Absalom. The technique appears to be related to Sanji's rage level, and as he becomes enraged his body blazes light. In Thriller Bark, his rage emerged from the thought of Nami in danger and in seeing his dream of her in a wedding dress about to be robbed from him. At Fishman Island, Sanji evokes his rage by digging into the traumatic 2 years he spent running from the Okama in the Kamabaka Kingdom. Either way, Sanji channels the rage and fire into his attacks, which become devastatingly powerful. Sanji used this attack to engulf Watatsumi in flames, and the power overwhelmed the giant fishman. Hell Memories could very well be an extension of Sanji's Diable Hamby ability. Instead of merely setting a leg ablaze, Hell Memories ignites all of Sanji's body in a furious blaze. Sanji is shown to possess the ability to use 2 of the 3 forms of Haki. He first reveals that he is able to use Kenbun-shoku Haki, the observational Haki, during the Fishman Island story arc. Sanji's prowess with this form of Haki fits incredibly well with his character and fighting style, both which rely heavily on observational intelligence. Sanji clearly uses Kenbun-shoku Haki when locating Kinemon's torso in the icy lake in the center of Punk Hazard. Sanji's observational Haki might even have been developed much sooner than this, although he might not fully have understood it. Over the course of the series, his observational Haki seems to emerge almost comically at first and is uniquely tied to endangered women, particularly Nami. It is arguable that his first real use of observational Haki comes back in Skypiea when he senses Nami is in danger and somehow spots her way above upon Enel's flaying ship. It is also hinted that Sanji is able to use Busashoku Haki, or the armament Haki, on Punk Hazard when Luffy is trying to decide who will go after Caesar Clown, as he is a Logia-type Devil Fruit user. That being said, Sanji is never shown to actually use his armament Haki. Later on in the series, Sanji does eventually use his armament Haki when confronted by his father and the Vinsmoke family. Like all of the characters of the Straw Hat crew, especially those among the monster trio, Sanji's attacks and abilities evolve drastically over the course of the series. While Sanji develops and improves many of his earlier and existing attacks with new levels of power, like the progression added by using his Diable Hamby ability, he also develops and expands his repertoire through observation. Zoro tends to develop all of his own attacks and then slowly trains and refines them to become more powerful. Luffy often unleashes new attacks out of necessity, even in desperation when in the heat of battle. Sanji, on the other hand, seems to make most of his developments through observation, whether it by watching an enemy or a friend. Following the time skip, many of Sanji's old abilities have multiplied greatly in strength. His ability to use Diable Hamby, his own kind of gear second in some ways, has improved and he uses it more frequently in battle. Additionally, he has somehow managed to increase his ability to strike from a distance, somewhat similarly to Zoro's ability to strike from afar. He first demonstrates this while defending Shirahashi on Fishman Island. While Sanji says his dream is to find the All Blue, the ocean where fish of all 4 seas can be found and caught, it is pretty obvious that he has another dream, given his trouble with nosebleeds. It's a wonder he didn't die while on Punk Hazard when Trafalgar Law swapped his heart with Nami's. Well, just seemed like the most appropriate way to end an article on Sanji. Thank all of you for watching videos. Please like and subscribe for the latest video update.